Welcome to the deep dive. So you've shared some really interesting material with us this time, and it zeroes in on something we all face, right? How to politely say no to an idea.
Yeah, that delicate dance.
Exactly. We've all been in that spot where someone suggests something and, well, it's just not quite hitting the mark.
Hmm.
So our mission here, pretty straightforward, really, is to dig into these sources and pull out some, genuinely useful insights. How do you handle those moments without causing offense?
Right. And the sources look at everything from the tiny nuances in language to how different cultures handle saying no indirectly.
It looks fascinating, and the psychology behind why we're often so indirect seems key here, too.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much we communicate beyond just the words, especially with feedback that might not be, well, welcome. It's this mix of language tricks and cultural norms.
Okay, let's get into it. One source breaks polite rejection down into the three tiers. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
First up is soft. This seems to be all about plausible deniability. Like the source says, when someone offers, that's one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
They might secretly mean, this is deranged.
Yes, that's the kind of decoding it suggests.
And another one, I appreciate the creativity,
Mm-hmm.
could actually imply, I fear the creativity. It's like a coded message, isn't it?
Yeah.
Signals disagreement without being confrontational.
Exactly right. It's using what you might call strategic ambiguity. You signal you're not quite on board, but you give the other person space, maybe a chance to reconsider, without a direct hit.
But it only works if they get the hint, right?
That's the catch. If the other person doesn't read between the lines, well, things can get awkward.
Oh, yeah. The source even had that listener story. Remember, someone said, fascinating approach about a really bad idea.
Yes. And the person took it at face value.
Totally. They just ran with it. Then there was a mad scramble to fix everything. So, yeah, subtext matters.
Definitely.
Okay, so then we get to the neutral tier. This feels more like, the standard professional no.
Right. Less ambiguity, perhaps.
Things like, let's circle back to this, the hidden meaning. Let's never return. I mean, who hasn't felt that in a meeting?
It's a classic for a reason.
Or, we should explore other options, which just signifies this isn't an option. Seems pretty common in workplaces.
It is. And these neutral ways are interesting professionally. They keep up appearances, maintain that surface level of openness, which is often important.
Keeps the peace.
Exactly.
Right.
While still shutting the idea down pretty effectively. It really shows how much workplace chat relies on these unspoken rules, doesn't it? Sometimes the real decision is in what isn't said or what gets pushed off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then there's the third tier, the oh hell no tier.
The diplomatic emergency zone.
Yeah, love that name. This is for the ideas that really make you think, wow, no, like this might have unintended consequences. Apparently that suggests this will burn the company down.
A slightly more polite way of saying disaster ahead.
Which, let's be honest, sometimes feels accurate. And then, is this aligned with our goals? Implies this completely betrays our goals. These are like politely worded warning sirens.
Precisely. And in these sort of higher stakes moments, the no has to be clearer, firmer, but still diplomatic, right? You want to avoid making the other person defensive.
So the language shifts.
Yeah, it often shifts towards focusing on risks or how it doesn't fit with the bigger picture, the objectives everyone agrees on. It appeals more to logic, which feels less personal, less confrontational.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have levels. What about the techniques? How do you sound open-minded while you're actually shutting something down? The sources had some clever tricks.
Oh, yeah, the maneuvers.
First, the yes, but. You kind of acknowledge the idea, sound positive, but then pivot straight into why it won't work. Like, I love the energy, but let's pressure test it. Secret meaning, this won't survive contact with reality.
It's a bit of a softener, isn't it? That initial yes validates the person, makes them feel heard before you bring in the criticism.
Right. The compliment before the critique.
But you have to be careful how you do it. If the but just completely cancels out the yes without a good reason, it can feel, well, a bit fake. Or even condescending.
That's a good point. You need substance behind the but. Okay, then there's the devil's advocate move.
The classic.
Saying, let me play devil's advocate, which apparently just translates to, let me explain why this sucks. It's a neat way to raise objections without owning them directly almost.
It is interesting, isn't it? It lets you critique an idea less directly. You frame it as just exploring angles or playing a role.
Creates a bit of distance.
Exactly. Psychological distance. It can make it easier for the other person to actually hear the criticism without immediately getting defensive about their idea.
Clever. And then the source mentioned the redirect. calls it the nuclear option.
Ah.
This is where you suggest the idea might be better for another team. The unspoken part being, let them suffer.
Ouch.
That one's definitely strategic.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a bit risky, depending on the workplace politics.
How so? Well, linking it to how organizations work, it can be a way to sidestep conflict or navigate tricky internal dynamics. But if people see it as you just dumping a bad idea on someone else, it could backfire, damage relationships between teams.
Yeah, could definitely cause resentment. Okay, and the source also had a pro tip. Just say, let me think on it.
The eternal delay tactic.
Basically, a way to postpone the no indefinitely. I think we've all used that or had it used on us.
Oh, for sure. It taps into that very human desire to just avoid direct conflict, doesn't it? Buys time. Sometimes the idea just fades away on its own. Passive rejection, really.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Culture. The sources mentioned how these polite no's change depending on where you are.
Yeah, huge differences sometimes.
Apparently in America, if someone says, let's pivot, it often means this failed.
Which feels pretty apt for that kind of fast-moving, results-driven business culture, doesn't it? It's pragmatic, less focus on saving face with that particular phrase, more on just changing course quickly.
Right. Then hop over to the UK.
Hmm.
That's quite bold.
Ah, yes. The British understatement.
Apparently often means, this is insane. I
Is
just
it?
love how low-key that sounds for such a strong reaction.
It's very typical of British communication, that preference for indirectness, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to stay polite, avoid seeming too confrontational. Quite bold is a perfect example. Mild words, strong negative meaning underneath. You really need to know the code.
Definitely need the cultural decoder ring for that one. And then down under, Australia. Yeah, nah, not feeling it.
Laughs slightly. Yeah, nah.
I mean, this is garbage. It's very direct, but still somehow casual. Almost disarming.
Yeah, the Australian style often leans more direct, more informal. Yeah, nah is super common, expresses disagreement pretty clearly. It might sound casual, but the meaning gets across without lots of formality. Directness is often prioritized there.
Fascinating how different the styles are. Oh, and there was that weirdly specific listener hack, too.
The smiling,
Yeah, smiling while just saying, Apparently, it can make people feel psychologically unsettled, enough that they might back down from their idea.
Yeah.
That's kind of powerful in a strange way.
It's a really sharp point about nonverbal cues, isn't it? That mismatch, the positive face, the hesitant sound, it creates this cognitive dissonance for the other person.
Like their brain senses something's off.
Exactly. They might subconsciously pick up on your reservation, even if you haven't said anything concrete, makes them second-guess themselves.
Wild. All right, so wrapping things up a bit, the source suggests a kind of challenge for you, the listener. Rejection spy.
Become an observer.
Yeah. Try to spot one of these fake positive rejections out in the wild, like hearing interesting take and thinking, they mean wrong take.
Or maybe even try one yourself.
It suggests testing the devil's advocate trick and watch them sweat, it says cheekily. Or using, let's table this on a bad idea and enjoy the silence.
Testicle application.
And it shared that success story, right? Someone used, we should explore other options on their boss's awful plan.
And it worked.
Apparently, a hashtag diplomatic win.
Mm.
So these tactics can actually work.
And trying them out or just noticing them is a great way to get better at handling these tricky conversations, you know? Builds confidence, makes you more skilled.
So hopefully after this deep dive, you feel a bit more clued into this subtle art of saying no nicely. Understanding these polite rejections, how they work in different situations, it can really help you navigate things more smoothly, professionally and personally.
Indeed. And it leaves us with a final thought, perhaps for you to mull over.
Go on.
How often are you on either end of this? Giving these polite no's or getting them maybe without fully realizing the subtext? And how could being more aware of all this actually change how you communicate, how you give and receive feedback?
Definitely something to think about. A useful lens to look through in our daily interactions.